So, Paul, what is the one thing that truly maximizes the value of someone's home when they go to sell their property?
So for me, it's kind of one thing, but broken down into three parts. You know, if you ask me, one thing is representation. Representation will get the best value of your property. But the two other things that combine with it, if you think of it as a triangle, is the price and the presentation. Because if that representation is right, it gets those two things right, get all things together, you get your house sold, you get an offer in 30 days. I think that's my belief.
Okay, so let's break that down then. What do you mean by representation?
Representation is the person representing your property. You know, call it an estate agent, call it a property expert, call it a property professional, call it a realtor. You know, this person who's qualified or should be qualified to be able to go to you, show you what the price should be and how best to market it. You know, this is marketing. You know, I've been doing this for 15 years. I've been selling property around the world for 15 years. I've sold estates, sold in the Philippines, Spain, France. You know, that's my background, where I'm selling something that doesn't exist. It's off plan. So the marketing absolutely has to be spot on because the property doesn't exist. The comparables of the price also, if they're spot on, or if you can justify that price, then you've got those two things right. So if that representation's there and they're going to look after you from start to finish, I think you'll get the best price for your house in the shortest time. It all depends how quickly you want to sell it. You know, when I go and value a house, like you've said, and we've discussed before, you know, you can go, you know, test the market, on market, or below market. You know, if you can anyone could test the market, that's fine. But the expectations have to be there to test the market, where you have to overcompensate on the presentation. If you're going to take a couple of photos and want to test the market, then you're not going to get people coming to your door. No one's going to be coming to your door. You know, if you do the presentation, well, we talk about staging, we talk about virtual tours, videos. You know, you put money into this. You know, you then create a home for someone who wants to buy it, and that one person goes, that house is for me. You know, I'm going to buy that house. The price, I'm not really worried about. I'll pay a bit of extra money to beat everyone to get that house. You know, you price it on market. You know, we all know what the price is on market. We've all got our tools to get comparables in. The expectations of the seller is always testing the market. It's always at the top. But you say, right, this is the price, and then the house in the area, this is what they've sold for. You know, we say that saying, properties not in isolation, it's in competition. But sometimes every house is different. No house is the same. You know, each has a positive and negative. The house next door could be an old house that's a probate that needs a load of work done to it, and someone sold it last year where the prices were, and I went for a valuation recently like this. You know, the house next door sold for 360 last year or 18 months ago. Well, we should be able to get more than that because our house is better. And you go, well, it's not, the market's kind of shifted. It's shifted down a little bit. But, you know, what's your end goal? You know, what are you looking to achieve? Well, I really need to sell my house quickly because I found my dream home. Or, you know, we're just seeing what's going to go. We were just playing around with stuff. You found another house to buy. Well, no, not sure. But that person goes, I need to sell my house in the next 30 days because I've got a forward purchase. Okay, then we need to get as many people to your door. We need to price it right. We can't test the market because we haven't got that time. Because I believe if you're testing the market, you've got to give it 30 days to see what happens. Because if you reduce the price in the first week or 2 weeks, it seems like a knee-jerk reaction. I've got it wrong. You know, I need to drop the price. And everyone goes, well, why has he dropped the price? And also he's trying too hard. Put it below market, you'll get more people to the door. People are going to say that's a great deal. And this is where, you know, you price down to get a higher value. Because if you've got more people to your door, you've got more competition. So you price it slightly below market, you get 20 instead of 10 people to your door, get them all there on one open day, put them in little slots, get people, you know, treading on each other's toes. That's where the competition starts going. And then
but sellers don't believe that, Paul.
No, because that's what they're led to believe. The price they're given is the price they're going to sell it for, and an estate agent will go in at a higher price, or whatever price that seller wants to sell it for in their head, what it's worth in their head. But for an estate agent to sign a contract to say, right, I'll sell it for this price, which is too high, but here's sign this contract for 16 weeks, we'll get it. There's something not right there, because if you've got confidence that it will sell for that price, you should not need to have a tying contract.
Yeah.
You should believe that person going to sell it. My belief as well is that relationship is so important, because if you've got the relationship with your seller, then the contract, you're having constant conversation, you're talking to them constantly. If your client is having to call you for information, it's too late. It's too late. They're going to go, why is it not calling me? Why am I why do I have to keep chasing them? Why is it not selling? Why haven't I got any viewings? Why haven't I got any offers? Why? And you phone up and there's there could be any excuse, but the market's slow, this, that, and the other. Well, no, the price is too high. The photos are really bad.
Is it not worth, though, letting a seller feel the pain of being misled?
No, because that goes against my business. I don't want to put anyone in pain. I want a success. As an independent estate agent, I don't take on a huge amount of properties, because I'm involved from the start to the finish. It's me, it's Paul Charles. So I want to get people's houses sold for the most money in the shortest time, because that's what I'm here for. I'm not here just to put it on Rightmove and sit it on there and just get inquiries coming in, do a viewing on a Tuesday, on a Thursday, and whatever. Every time I do with my properties, I group them all together. I pick a day, pick a Saturday, pick a Friday, and I group them all together. When they say, "Oh, can I do it on a Thursday or Wednesday?" No, we can only do it on that day. I'm reducing the impact on my clients into their property, but it enables me to stage that house. The house I've just sold, I used to do 4 or 5 viewings at any one time. But I used to get there half an hour early, turn the lights on, put the heating on. He had surround sound speakers, Sonos. So iPad out, music on. You're walking into a home, not a house.
Yeah.
Rather than walking in, turn the lights on, making it feel a bit cold. I spend time with my clients. I get to know them. I get to know their onward purchase, their situation. So when those viewers are those people are viewing the property, they ask me the question, I've got an answer.
Yeah.
Why
do you say sell a house for maximum money, but in the shortest space of time? Why is that important to you, the shortest space of time bit?
Well, I think for me, it shows that I'm really working hard. If I can get them an offer within 30 days, then means I'm working hard to get it done, or all the things that I'm doing make sense.
What are the consequences, though, if the house continues to remain on the market beyond 30 days?
Well, I sit down with my client. I do a 30-day plan, and then we'll go and sit down. We'll do another 30-day or another 2-week plan. I'm accountable. I need to be accountable for what I've said in my marketing plan at the beginning. If it doesn't work, I will then go sit down with my client and go, this is why it hasn't worked. X, Y, Z. Here's all the feedback from all the viewings. We need to look at this. What's your thought? We work together on this.
Sorry, Paul. If it goes beyond that 30 days, let's say it goes another 30 days, does that have an effect on the actual, in your opinion, does that have an effect on the price that the seller will achieve?
Absolutely. Because people are curious. They're going to wonder why it's still on the market at that price. There's a house down the road from me. It's been on with 2 agents now. We're coming up to a year. It's been on at one price. They have never changed the price. Well, what's the problem? Price, presentation. There's something not right there. Representation as well. If the representation's not there.
And what do the buyers think about that? Like, say, for example, a property that's been on for longer than, say, 60 days, or in this case, a year. What sort of feedback from buyers? What do you think they're thinking?
Too expensive, I think. Too expensive. You could. I look at the presentation, the marketing of it, and say we could do a bit more. I don't know. For me, that house down the road, it's got to be price. It's got to be price. It's too high.
Yeah, because in my experience, buyers will generally think that there's something wrong with the house.
Yeah.
As it does it have subsidence?
Yeah.
There is a thing. People don't want cheap. People want bargains. But now it starts to look expensive. But the problem is the offers that are likely to come in are going to be a lot cheaper than that bargain price. Otherwise what they would have offered. But why though, Paul? Why are you so passionate about representation, doing what's right, getting open mornings, open days, making sure you know the answers to every question? Why? Why'd you do that?
It shows that I care. It shows that I'm putting the effort. It is me, again, it is just me doing the business. So, and I'm a bit of a perfectionist when it comes to it. I want to make sure every step is done to the best of my ability. When I joined Keller, about 2-3 years ago, I lost a business, got a phone call. It was the local estate and I bought my property for in 2016. Come and do a valuation on your property. Of course, come and have a look around. I wanted to have a chat with him and see, what the market's doing and, where I could add value to my property, what works well in the area. And it came in and he had a little pack and he opened the pack and he had his Rightmove printouts and a printout of another house down the road they sold. We never walked around the house. Yeah, we never walked around the house. And as soon as I said, when you're thinking of selling, I said, about 2 years' time. I mean, this meeting was over. And I'm like going, seriously, I was coming to ask you for advice. If you said the right things to me, I might have even said, actually, we might sell our house. But he went and I said to my wife, this is me after marketing property for 10, 12 years. I said, he's lost me. And I'm not selling my house in 2 years' time. But I'm on the phone to you and going, I've just had this guy come through the door. He said these things just made massive sense to me. He was so helpful. He walked around the house. He looked at it. I go into the lofts of people's houses when I do evaluation because the loft, I didn't do that in my house 6 years ago, right? I didn't go into the loft of my house. It cost me $7,000 to put a new roof on. Because at the time, no one was guiding me through this process. When I was doing the viewing, and the estate agent then said, we go in the loft, and you talk to people, you give them those answers, then you're known as an expert. You're giving sound advice. But when you're doing the valuation with the seller, you also point out these because these things come up. You do a survey, it's going to come up. There's a crack in the wall. If you try and put cement in there, there's still a crack in the wall. So you try and be as honest at the front end, because as you know, getting an offer on a house is half the battle. You've got another 3 months going through conveyancing. That's the battle. Because anything can fall down in 3 months, and there's nothing contractually locking anyone in to deal with that problem. So in that 3 months, anything could happen. The survey comes out with all these problems. They want to renegotiate. They want to bring the price down. Oh, hold on, you said the house is worth this much. Well, if the house is worth this much, but actually the roof looks like it needs felting, whatever, that's going to cost someone $7,000, $8,000. They're going to come back and renegotiate on your price. Do you want to go through that renegotiation process where things break down when there's other people involved? There's solicitors involved. So they're going between solicitors and rather than address it from the front and go, price accordingly. Now, that might not be right. They might think, everyone wants to get the most out of their property. And again, I want efficiency, because I just think that shows you're a professional, you know what you're doing.
So you're effectively saying it's better to deal with the punches that are going to come, but actually deal with the punches in the beginning, so at least you're able to defend yourself from the punch that's coming. And because it's coming, but it's how do you defend yourself as opposed to getting hit with a sucker punch.
Yeah. One of the houses I sold for some really good friends of mine, I got the relisting. They put it on. It was a 3-bedroom house, very hard to value because it was in Oxfordshire, quite a unique house. But originally was on the market at 525. It was 50, 60 grand overpriced. I put it back on the market at 425, 450. I think 450. we started getting viewings. Don't forget, before they had no viewings, no offers. I started getting offers in. Now, I didn't, and this was the beginning of my journey, so I'm always learning. Every day is a school day for me. But the house, its part of the house is 400 years old. When it came down to surveys, it came down to structural surveys as well, because there were structural concerns. And we ended up selling it for 330 because it needed 70 grand's worth of work done to it, because the gable end wall, the gable end tie was tied in too tight, and it was pulling the gable end in towards the roof. So that's a massive job. Now, 525 is where they started. They were buying new houses, motorbikes, holidays, everything else. And a year later, when I sold it at 330, and they were going to take 300 for it, and I said, wait, if they really want this house, they're going to. And they came in and we sold it. Now they've moved on, they've purchased and everything else, but it's difficult. These are difficult conversations, especially your best friends.
Okay, but one thing I think we need to pick up on, you just said that they were going to accept 300 and you said no. Why did you say no?
Because I knew what their forward purchase, I knew what they were going through. I knew I wanted their best interest. The conversations I had with the buyer, they were buying it at 400, and we were having conversations, and we kept dropping the price. They're right. If it's going to cost this much, 70 grand, it's on a 425, we'll sell it for 350. Or I'm not sure. They were like, it's not going to work. Then they were like, the wife phoned me up after they said, well, we will offer 300, and say, look, it's not going to do it. I said to my sellers, look, we'll sell it, we'll go to auction, we'll do something with it, but 300, you're not going to net enough to move forward for your forward purchase.
But was it worth 330?
Oh yeah.
So effectively,
without the issues, it's 425. And then the sort of estimates were coming in about 70 grand for the work.
But you were about to just talk yourself out of a commission by that level of honesty, by saying, no, fuck that, we're not doing 300, we're going 330.
That's my business, and that's how the ethics of my business. I'm not in here. I'm not in this to take a commission and sell something that I felt that house could achieve more. Okay, it was a bullish move, but we got it.
Yeah, but but what sits behind that bullish move, Paul? Why? What would stop you, right, from going, fuck it, let's just get the deal done? 30 grand to me on a commission. It's nothing. That's nothing. That's like, if it's argument's sake, say fucking 2%, right, on 30 grand. What is that? That is 300, 600 quid. 600 quid is what that would cost you off your commission, which is nothing. So if that's nothing, why would you talk yourself out of the big boy commission?
That sale was just a gut feel. I was speaking to the buyer. They literally wanted to buy this house, and I just had this, and I said to them, and again, very different situations. They're very good friends of mine, and a very very bad situation. But I just knew, for me, I even reduced my commission at the end of it because I felt like I didn't do my job to the best of my ability. Because I wanted, being me and being Paul Childs, I have the ability to do this, and I do this with my clients. I stick by the price. My price is, my commission is X at this price. If I sell it under, I'm going to drop my commission.
Is that reputation as well as representation?
Yeah. My reputation. My reputation is me. There's no one else you can blame it on. So I need to, yeah.
Because are you saying that pretty much the competition you're coming up against don't necessarily have the same attitude? So, for example, their business model is different. The business model is more about keeping the office doors open, and KPIs and
KPIs. It's all KPIs. It's all numbers, isn't it? It's that 30-30-30 rule that we talk about. They'll get their book will have, let's say, 30 properties. 10 will sell because they're nice properties, they're priced right. They look, the people buy them. 30% are the ones that sit there for 30, 60, 90 days. price reduction, and they sell. And then the 30% is what we pick up. That 30% is the ones that come to me going, oh, I've had a really bad experience. Unfortunately, then I feel like I'm tarnished with the same brush, that I have to then get their heads around that. But I've won business over, and I've doubled the commission they were paying because I was very straight and up front with them.
Yeah. Well, you got to the right level commission, is what you're saying.
Yeah, I've got to the right level commission. Absolutely,
the level it should have been in the beginning.
Absolutely. The commission that I sit by, that I think is the right commission. We're in a country where this country has probably got the lowest commission rate for selling property, and with that comes a level of service, I feel. When I was selling property in the States, 5%, 6% is a norm. Doing land deals, we're getting 8-10%. Spain 3 to 5%. Overseas it's very different. And also in the States, they've got their license, they're regulated, they have to abide by certain codes of conduct, and that kind of puts that service so much more, for me, professional. But when you've got such small amount of commissions, if you drop in the commissions, that's the only thing you've got to win business. Well, if you drop your commission, what else is going to drop with it?
Yeah,
service.
Yeah, service, not just service as well. I think also when you're talking about representation, does the agent who's willing to pull their pants down on fees actually really have the best interest of the seller that they're representing at heart? And I would say absolutely fucking not. No way. And the reason you're talking about, if you've not achieved what you set out to achieve and you've reduced your commission, that's not just because you care. That's because you feel fucking embarrassed that it hasn't quite worked out the way you thought it would have done. So you're like, no, I'm going to stand by my word, live by the sword, die by the sword, not just try and get deals done.
And then when you speak to clients and say, right, this is my situation, 0-week contract, this is my commission structure, I'll make that structure fit in. If the fact is, if we sell it for a little bit less, they're not going to achieve the money for their forward purchase. Well, actually, I can actually work my commission to get that house sold for them and get their forward purchase done, because there's always something else they need to, because I don't want them pulling out. If they're not going to achieve the money, they're just going to pull it off the market. So, it's working around and working with, I'm working with my client, I'm working with them. I'm offering them a service. I'm not trying to just to shift.
So working with the 4 minutes that we have left on this podcast, but working with clients, do you think that's what needs to happen in this industry for this industry to change, where it then becomes around brand and service as opposed to price and fee?
Absolutely. I think brand and service is everything. I feel the industry needs to, it'd be like if we had to sit by a code of conduct where every estate agent would charge 1.5% to sell their property. So if every agent was selling at 1.5%, then what changes? It's all about the representation, the relationship. Because if you fix that, then it's all about service, isn't it? Because the only thing we're playing with right now, when I go and do evaluation, is you're 0.25% too expensive. I mean, prime example, and I'll finish off with this story. The house I'm just going through to completion over in Hook in Hampshire was on with an agent. Photos were done on an iPad, overexposed photos, a couple of photos, on at 790, expensive house, lots of money. He called me after 30 days going, have had no viewings. The estate agent's not giving me any feedback. I'm not hearing anything from them. Went round to the house, saw the contract, 0.75% lock in for 12 weeks. And I said, look, I can't do anything. I can't help you for another 2 months. But we kept talking. I said, I'll be here for you. And any questions you've got, and if I help you sell your house, that doesn't matter. I'm here to help you. And if you sell your house with the other estate agent, all I ask for you is put a review on, tell your friends and family, what I've done. I took it on, new photos, video. We reduced the price because I said it was too expensive. Put it on at 760. Did a 2-week launch, one Saturday open house. Week 2 got an offer at 770.
Fucking yes, mate.
And we're going to complete on it on the 11th of December. So we will have gone through conveyancing in 8 weeks. No, 9-10 weeks.
That's amazing, mate. And that's all purely because you're professional enough and dedicated enough to actually set the sale up correctly in the beginning.
And the person who bought that house saw it on the marketed on Rightmove with the other agent,
and never raised their hand.
Never inquired, never did anything, because they were umming and ahhing and everything else. And as soon as I put brand new professional photography on, I include in my service, I do virtual walkthroughs included, floor plan. When I do evaluation, I go in my laser tape measure, I measure up and I give them a floor plan for free. I did videography, did everything. I did every view, and this is when I put on the Sonos sound speakers and did everything, turned the lights on. He said to me, it was the photos. I said the photos were just chalk and cheese. And then he phoned up, did it, said, we love this house. We're going to, and also I got to sell his house as well.
Paul, mate, fucking magic. You've been absolutely fantastic on this podcast, mate. Thank you so much for coming on.